Why is it that my local butcher makes pricey hamburgers with the skill of basically just his hands alone, and can also easily make dozens and dozens of other products? But the burger factory has to have millions of dollars of fancy equipment to make tens of thousands of burgers per day, with hardly a human touching the product during its whole production. But despite all their amazing machines and processes, they won't make me any sausages, only burgers. Actually, you've probably got your head running with many reasons why these businesses are different. But it's a good example to crystallise the differences of businesses based on their volume and their variety, which are two of the 4 V's of categorising business operations, and how it forces a cascade of other strategic operational decisions on how to design and run the business operations. Let's look at the product process matrix. In this diagram, you can see we have 2 axes, volume along the bottom and variety. Volume doesn't refer to space, but the quantity of units, the quantity of stuff made. What we find is that businesses in different places on this matrix tend to organise themselves in very similar ways, and that many combinations are just not practical. You can think of many examples of high variety, low volume business operations. These are ones that do a wide variety of things, offering or making many different products or services which are all relatively different from each other. At the other end of the spectrum, there are many business operations that specialise to the extreme and process an enormous quantity, volume, but with almost no variety. They just do the same thing again and again and again. And of course, we can find business operations that choose to be somewhere in the middle of these extremes, perhaps offering more variety, but typically then doing lower volume than the other businesses that specialise in doing higher volume, low variety. What we basically never find is business operations working in the red shaded areas, either down in the bottom left corner, trying to offer low variety and low volume, or deviating the other way up to the top right corner, trying to offer high volume and high variety. Neither combination is viable in a competitive market, and we find almost all business operations grouping along the diagonal zone from the top left, high variety, low volume, down to the bottom right, high volume, low variety. So the first big insight from the product process matrix is that volume and variety seem to work on a kind of seesaw, with successful businesses choosing to be somewhere in the blue zone and not attempting to be in the red zone. The next super insight from this product process matrix is that organisations in certain places on that diagonal blue zone tend to organise themselves in a similar manner. In the top left extreme end of the blue zone, we have high variety and low volume. Business operations working up here typically operate on a project basis. Moving down, we find businesses operating perhaps on a jobbing or job shop. That means having to have different products or services that move through your system between defined functional areas, such as in a furniture workshop making lots of different furniture, but each of them moves from, say, the measuring area to the cutting area to the drilling area to the gluing area, so having defined zones for each type of process, but each unique job follows the same journey between these departments. That's jobbing job shop. Lower down the blue zone, so with yet more volume but less variety, now businesses start to organise themselves around batch production. Then we move on to mass production, where we start to see dedicated people and equipment specialised for a very specific purpose to make a big quantity high volume, essentially of the same item, so very low variety. And finally, getting on to continuous production, such as an oil refinery or steel works or flour mill. These have immensely expensive equipment, totally specialised to doing just one thing at super high volumes, very cost effectively. And there lies the trade-off that forces business operations to conform to this limited set of options. If you want to make super high volumes in a competitive market, you need to invest in very expensive specialised equipment, specialised jobs and processes. These are great at doing that one thing in massive quantities, ultra-high volume. But they have no flexibility to shift and do something else, extra variety. Going back to look at the top left of the matrix, high variety, low volume, where business operations typically organise themselves in a project manner, they can handle a super wide variety, maybe making a huge range of very different products or offering a wide range of services. Being set up to handle this level of flexibility can be a great competitive advantage, but it means they need general tools, general skills, and lots of flexible processes, which could never cost-effectively compete with other businesses specialising in fewer things, lower variety, at higher volume. So recognising or choosing where we want our business operations to sit on the volume-variety trade-off, and its implications and our choice on how to set up our system of processes, is another one of those big strategic operational choices.